I built my fortune from nothing, turning a small tech startup into a multi-million-dollar enterprise before I turned 35. Money changes everything, they say, and they are right. It changed how people looked at me, especially women. That's how I met Victoria. She walked into a charity gala like she owned the room. All emerald, silk, and diamond earrings that caught the light with every turn of her head. Long auburn hair cascaded down her back, and those green eyes, God, those eyes could make a man forget his own name. She was a model, occasionally, and an entrepreneur who sold luxury lifestyle coaching to wealthy women. When she smiled at me across the champagne fountain, I felt like I'd won some cosmic lottery. Our courtship was a whirlwind. Expensive dinners at restaurants where the waiters knew your dietary restrictions before you sat down. Weekend gateways to Aspen and the Hamptons. She would curl up against me in our king-sized bed, tracing patterns on my chest, whispering how different I was from other men, how I understand her, how she would finally found someone who saw past her beauty to the woman beneath. I love you, Daniel. She would breathe against my neck, her perfume, something French and expensive that I had bought her, filling my senses. Not your money, not your success, just you. I believed her. Oh God, help me. I believed every word. We married on a vineyard in Napa Valley. 200 guests watching as she glided down the aisle in a dress that cost more than most people's cars. My best man, Owen, had pulled me aside that morning. You sure about this, Dan? You've only known her 8 months. When you know, I told him, adjusting my cufflinks. I did not see the concern in his eyes, or maybe I chose not to. The first year of marriage was everything I would imagined. Victoria redecorated our penthouse with an interior designer, spent her days at yoga studios and spa appointments, her evenings planning dinner parties for my business associates. She played the role of devoted wife perfectly, always touching my arm when we talked, laughing at my jokes, slipping her hand into mine at social events. In bed, she was intoxicating. She would wear silk negligees that left little to the imagination, lighting candles that cast dancing shadows across our bedroom walls. Come here, she'd purr, and I would forget about the quarterly reports, the investor meetings, the stress of a running company. Her kisses tasted like expensive wine, her body fitting against mine like we were made for each other. Those nights, tangled in Egyptian cotton sheets, I felt like the luckiest man alive. But fortunes built on hard work come with a certain instinct, the ability to sense when something's not quite right, when the numbers don't add up. It started small, a text message that made her smile in a way she never smiled at me. Hushed phone calls she would take in the bathroom. Afternoons when she was meeting friends but came home with no shopping bags, no stories, just a quick kiss on my cheek and a retreat to take a shower. I told myself I was being paranoid. Victoria loved me. She had chosen me. But instinct is a funny thing. Once awakened, it doesn't sleep. Sun streaming through the floor to ceiling, windows looking the city. Her laptop sat open on the kitchen counter, forgotten. I wasn't the kind of husband who snooped. I'd always believed trust was the foundation of marriage. But the screen was facing me, and I saw my name in a message preview. Daniel's so clueless, it read. He actually thinks I love him. My hand trembled as I touched the trackpad. The message thread opened and I found myself staring into abyss I didn't know existed. The messages went back months. His name was Blake, a personal trainer at Victoria's exclusive gym. The conversations were a masterclass in deception and cruelty. They joked about my dad bod despite my regular workouts. They laughed about how I would never suspect anything because I was too grateful to have someone like her. Blake sent photos of himself, shirtless, tattooed, everything I wasn't. Victoria responded with heart emojis and promises. Once I get through the 3-year mark, divorce laws are more favorable, she'd written 2 months ago. His prenup isn't as tight as he thinks. I've already talked to a lawyer. My breath came in short gasps as I scrolled. There were details about their afternoons together, my wife and this man, in hotel rooms I'd unknowingly paid for with the credit card she used. Intimate descriptions that made my stomach turn. She wrote about him in ways she would never spoken about me, even in our most passionate moments. Did you see the Rolex he bought for me for our anniversary? One message read. $40,000. The idiot actually thinks I'll wear it thinking of him. I was thinking of you the whole time he was fucking me that night. I closed the laptop carefully. Methodically, the way I approached everything in business. My mind was already working, processing, calculating. The initial shock gave way to something colder, clearer. I did not confront her when she came home that evening. Gym bag slung over her shoulder, hair still damp from what she claimed was a post-workout shower. She kissed my cheek, the same casual peck as always she gave. "How was your day?" she asked, opening the refrigerator. "Productive," I said, watching her carefully. She didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. The performance was flawless. That night, she initiated intimacy. She emerged from the bathroom in black lace, her body backlit by the bedroom's soft lighting. "I've been thinking about you all day," she whispered, running her hands down my chest. I went through the motions, but everything had changed. Every kiss felt like a lie. Every touch was a betrayal. When she moaned my name, I wondered if she was thinking of him. Afterward, she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder, and I stared at the ceiling, planning. Over the next week, I became a ghost in my own life. I hired a private investigator, the best in the city, someone who had done work for several of my business associates during their own marital difficulties. I copied every message from Victoria's laptop, every email, every photo. I documented everything with precision. I applied to mergers and acquisitions. The investigator's report arrived a manila envelope. Photos of Victoria and Blake entering hotels, timestamps that matched her yoga classes and spa days, financial records showing cash withdrawals I would never noticed, money she'd been setting aside in an account I knew nothing about. I sat in my office, surrounded by evidence of my wife's betrayal, and made a decision. Watch her sleeping face, so peaceful, so beautiful, so utterly false, and rehearse the role I needed to play. The oblivious husband, the man too blinded by love and fortune to see the truth. Good morning, beautiful, I would say, kissing her forehead. She would smile, that practiced smile. Stretched like a satisfied cat and pad to the shower while I pretended to check emails. My days became double lives. At the office, I was restructuring everything. I called my attorney, James, a bulldog of a lawyer who would help me navigate hostile takeovers and complex contracts. I need you to do this quietly, I told him in his corner office. The city sprawling below us. No one can know, especially not Victoria. James had seen it all in his 30 years of practice. He didn't even blink. What are we protecting? Everything. We started with the company. I'd made the mistake of adding Victoria to several accounts after we married, giving her access to what she thought was our shared wealth. James helped me create a new corporate structure, transferring assets into holdings she knew nothing about. The penthouse we lived in, technically owned by an LLC that would dissolve at my command. The cars, the vacation home in Cabo, the investment accounts, all quietly relocated into structures she couldn't touch. Your prenup is solid, James assured me, but she's right about one thing. 3 years does change some dynamics in the state. Good thing you're ahead of her timeline. I also met with Rachel, a forensic accountant who specialized in uncovering hidden assets and divorces. I need to know everything, I told her. Every dollar she's taken, every account she's opened, every asset she thinks she's hiding. Rachel worked like a surgical team, and within a week, I had a complete financial picture. Victoria had been skimming money for 18 months. Small amounts she thought I wouldn't notice. She had an account with nearly $40,000. My money, stolen gradually. A few hundred here, a few hundred there. The private investigator, Marcus Reynolds, continued his surveillance. He provided video footage that made my jaw clench. Victoria and Blake having lunch at outdoor cafes, holding hands across the table, kissing in his car outside the gym, entering his apartment building and not leaving for hours. One video showed them at a jewelry store. Blake was trying on watches, expensive ones. Victoria was laughing, pointing at a particular Omega that cost $30,000. Early birthday present for yourself, the salesperson asked Blake in the footage. From my girlfriend, Blake responded, pulling Victoria close. She kissed him full on the mouth right there in the store, not caring who saw. At home, Victoria maintained her charade. She would plan elaborate dinners, lighting candles, wearing dresses that hugged every curve. I thought we could have a romantic night, she'd say, her hand sliding up my thigh under the table. I played along because I needed time. We would make love in our bedroom, her body moving above me in the candlelight, and I'd watch her face, searching for any crack in the mask. There was none. She was a consummate actress, crying out my name, telling me she loved me, making me believe, or trying to, that I was the only man in her world. You are everything to me, she whispered one night, her naked body pressed against mine, both of us slick with sweat. I don't know what I would do without you. You will never have to find out, I lied, kissing her neck. By week 3, I had everything in place. A new will that removed her as beneficiary, accounts she couldn't access, properties transferred, my most valuable assets protected. And finally, divorce papers drawn up with such precision that James called them a work of art. When do we serve her? He asked. Soon. But first, I want her to show me exactly who she is. Emergency investor meeting. A crisis I would manufactured with the help of my COO. I would pack the bag, kissed her goodbye at the door of our penthouse, and told her I'd be back Sunday evening. I'll miss you, she said, her fingers playing with my tie. Maybe when you get back, we can take that trip to Bali we've been talking about. Absolutely, I'd promised, seeing the calculation in her eyes. She was already thinking about how to spend my money on another exotic vacation. I went to the airport, went through security, but never boarded the plane. Instead, I returned to the city and checked into a hotel room where Marcus had set up surveillance equipment. The cameras are positioned at 3 angles in your penthouse, he explained, showing me the laptop screen split into multiple views. Motion activated, sound included, everything's recording to a secure cloud server. I sat in that hotel room and waited. At 11:47 a.m., Victoria appeared on screen, moving through the penthouse. She was on her phone, laughing at something. Then she disappeared into the bedroom. 30 minutes later, my front door opened. Blake walked in like he owned the place. Fitted jeans, tight black t-shirt, carrying a bottle of expensive champagne I recognized from my own wine collection. Baby, he called out. Victoria emerged from the bedroom wearing lingerie I'd never seen before. Red lace that left nothing to imagination. Her hair loose around her shoulders. She ran to him, jumping into his arms, her legs wrapping around his waist as they kissed with an intensity that made my hands clench. I've been waiting all morning, she breathed between kisses. I need you. They moved to the couch, my couch, where I would sat hundreds of times, and I watched my wife transform into someone I'd never seen. She was hungry, passionate, alive in ways she'd never been with me. Their hands were everywhere, clothes being shed piece by piece. This place is insane, Blake said, looking around the penthouse. And it's all going to be ours soon? Victoria straddled him, her fingers tangled in his hair. 18 more months. Maybe less if I can speed things along. The prenup has loopholes. My lawyer found. What if he finds out? Blake asked, his hands sliding up her thighs. She laughed, throwing her head back. Daniel? Oh, please. He's so pathetically in love with me. He can't see straight. I could fuck you in our bed, and he would probably apologize for being in the way. They moved to the bedroom. I made myself watch, documenting everything. The evidence was damning, explicit, exactly what I needed. But more than that, I needed to see it, needed to burn away any remaining illusion, any foolish hope that maybe I would misunderstand, that maybe there was an explanation. There wasn't. For 3 hours, they used my home like their personal playground. They drank my wine, laughed about my ignorance, made plans for the future they would build on my fortune. I'm thinking we take the divorce settlement and invest in my training business, Blake said, lying naked in my bed. We could open a whole chain of gyms, high-end, exclusive. With Daniel's money, we can do whatever we want, Victoria replied, tracing patterns on his chest. He's already given me access to so much. The idiot actually trusts me. What about the prenup? My lawyer says if I can prove I contributed to his success, supported his career, I can argue for more. I've been documenting everything, every dinner party I hosted, every client I charmed. I am building a case. I turned off the feed. I'd seen enough. Marcus looked at me with something like pity. You okay, Mr. Hartman? I am perfect, I said. And I meant it. The last shred of doubt had been incinerated. Now I could move forward without hesitation, without mercy. Sunday evening, I returned home as planned. Victoria greeted me at the door in yoga pants and a soft sweater, her hair in a ponytail. The penthouse was spotless, no evidence of Blake's visit. She kissed me warmly. How was Seattle? Enlightening? I said truthfully. How was your weekend? Quiet. I just relaxed, did some yoga, watched movies. Missed you, though. The lies rolled off her tongue like water. That night, she initiated intimacy again, and I obliged, knowing it would be the last time. She whispered sweet nothings, told me she loved me, made all the right sounds. And I performed my role perfectly: the devoted husband, the man who believed every word. Afterward, as she slept beside me, I sent a single text message to James: "Tomorrow, serve the papers." I woke up before Victoria, as always. I went through my morning routine: coffee, shower, suit, while she slept peacefully in our bed. At 7:30 a.m., she emerged, yawning, wearing one of my old shirts that hung to her thighs. "Morning," she mumbled, kissing my cheek. "You were up early?" "Big day," I said. "Important meetings." She nodded absently, pouring herself coffee. "I have lunch with the girls, then yoga at 3. Sounds nice." At precisely 8:45 a.m., there was a knock at the door. Victoria was in the bedroom getting dressed. I opened it to find a process server, a severe woman in a business suit holding an envelope. "Daniel Hartman's residence?" "Yep, that's me." "These are for Victoria Hartman." Victoria appeared at the doorway, curiosity on her face. "What's going on?" The process server handed her the envelope. "You've been served." I watched Victoria's face as she opened it, saw the words "Petition for Dissolution of Marriage." At the top, the color drained from her cheeks. What? What is this?" She looked at me, confusion and panic warring in her expression. "Daniel, what the hell is this?" "Divorce papers," I said calmly. "I am divorcing you, Victoria, for adultery, fraud, and theft." "That is insane. I haven't. I would never." She was stammering, the actress finally breaking character. I pulled out my phone and brought up one of the videos from Saturday. Hit play. The sound of her laughter filled the penthouse, followed by her voice. "Daniel, please. He's so pathetically in love with me. He can't see straight." Her face went white, then red, then white again. You were spying on me." "I was protecting myself from a con artist and a thief." I gestured to the papers in her shaking hands. "Read carefully. You will see that the prenup you thought had loopholes actually doesn't. Your lawyer was wrong, or you were too arrogant to read the fine print. You get nothing from this marriage except what you walked in with." "You can't do this. I have rights." "You have the right to an attorney. I suggest you call one." I picked up my briefcase. "The penthouse belongs to my LLC, so you will need to be out by the end of the week. The credit cards have been canceled. The car is being repossessed today. It is in my company's name. Your access to all accounts has been revoked." She lunged at me, fury replacing shock. "You bastard. You can't just throw me out." "I can, and I am. You'll also find in those papers documentation of the $40,000 you embezzled from our joint accounts. I'm feeling generous, so I won't press charges if you leave quietly." Make a scene and I'll have you arrested for theft. I gave you 3 years of my life. You gave me 3 years of lies. There's a difference. I moved toward the door. Oh, and Victoria. Blake won't be getting that watch. His gym is losing its lease. I bought the building last week, considering it a parting gift. Her scream followed me into the hallway. The next steps were a symphony of legal precision. Victoria hired an expensive lawyer thinking she could fight, but James had built a case so airtight it was suffocating. Every message, every video, every financial record was presented. Her lawyer advised her to settle. The divorce was finalized in 6 months. Victoria got exactly what she would brought into the marriage. Nothing. The cash she'd stolen was used to pay her own legal fees. Blake lost his job when the gym couldn't afford the new lease rates. Last I heard, they had broken up within 3 months, apparently. Victoria wasn't as attractive without access to my money. I sold the penthouse. Too many bad memories. Bought a smaller place downtown. Kept my focus on my work. My company thrived. Without the distraction of maintaining a false marriage, I expanded into new markets, doubled our revenue. Owen, my best man, visited me 6 months after the divorce was final. We sat in my new apartment, drinking scotch and watching the sunset. How are you really? He asked. Free, I said, and meant it. I was never trapped by my fortune on her beauty. I was trapped by my own willingness to believe the lie. But not anymore. Any regrets? I thought about it, swirling the amber liquid in my glass. Just one, that I did not trust my instincts sooner. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel, my accountant. The investment returns are exceptional this quarter. Congratulations. I smiled. Victoria had thought my fortune was a cage. She was wrong. It was the key to my freedom, the foundation I'd built that allowed me to walk away from her lies without looking back. I'd lost 3 years, but I'd gained something more valuable, the knowledge of exactly what I was worth, and the certainty that I would never settle for less than I deserved again. Love shouldn't make you blind. Real love makes you see more clearly. And I was finally seeing everything with perfect clarity. Thank you. The end.